Welcome to Where We Knit. My name is Kristen and I am the host of this channel, and I am coming to you from my local yarn store here at Dandelion Fiber Company in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And this podcast is all about yarny goodness, the things I like to knit, the patterns that I'm intrigued by, my finished objects, and at the very end I share my favorite things, knitting related and non-knitting related. Let's get started. It is a frigid -13 here in Minneapolis, and I am here to talk about how the look of the hood is sweeping the nation. Now, you might be wondering, what are you talking about? What? The hood, the bonnet, the balaclava, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you noticed, but this week there was an article published in the New York Times that was sent to me by my friend Nell, who has a subscription. And here is the picture and the front page of that article. In this article, they're calling it a bonnet. Now, Europeans have been wearing balaclavas forever, or for quite some time. But now here in the US, the look is sort of sweeping the nation, and especially the knitters of the world. So at Dandelion Fiber Company, we started this week something called the Hood Along, where people are all coming together, knitters are coming together. There's about 17 of us. We're coming together on Wednesday evenings and knitting our own balaclava, bonnet, hood, whatever you want to call it. On the thumbnail of this video, you notice that I was wearing one that I finished. I finished this about a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. It is a pattern that you will see in the top 20, top 5, top 10 on Ravelry. And it is by NORGARD, and I love it. I made it in the Circus Tonic sport weight merino possum yarn. I held it double. It is glorious. This is called the Joji hood, the Jose hood. It's Jose hood. I'll put the picture of it here. I will also have everything in the show notes, both the yarn here that I used at Dandelion Fiber Company and the pattern of the designer and the designer who created it. All right, so here we go. This is the look of the hood. I'm being adventurous and doing this at the beginning of my podcast, even though it might kind of mess up my hair, but there's a lot of static going around because of the cold anyway. But this is the look of my hood that I made as a sample. I love it. I'm a teacher during the day, and I teach classes here at night and on weekends at Dandelion. But the reason I love this is because I go out to the bus to get kids. I go out to the playground, and this is about the coziest thing ever. I love it. And it really doesn't mess up or mat down my hair like a hat would. So when I don't need the hood part, this is the best part, in my opinion, is that then you can pull it down and you have this amazing, super cozy, nice looking cowl. I mean, the look of it is so practical. I love it. I use 3 skeins of the merino possum yarn from Circus Tonic Handmade. I held it double. It is a commitment. This pattern especially, my hair is a little wonky a little bit, but this pattern especially, it's a commitment. It's like knitting a sweater, for goodness sakes. It is ginormous. I love the construction. I love how big it is. And you have this luscious I-cord to finish your edging and then have cords to tie it at the end. I love it. So this was the hood that I made. Now, I'm making another one called the Simple Hood by, I believe it's Lykke. I'm gonna put all of her information of her pattern and also the information of the yarn that was gifted to me by Orchard Acre Textiles here in Minnesota. She's in Rochester. I've talked about her before. I've done an artist spotlight on Rebecca before, and she gifted me, I gotta show you, this luscious wool yarn, and I am holding it with 2 strands of this luscious silk, baby alpaca silk cashmere lace. We carry this in the store. The buttery softness, I'll show you how it's knitting up. It is knitting up so beautifully. Excuse me for leaving the screen for a second. So this is how it's knitting up. I started at the top, so this is the seam at the very top. It's genius construction. The look of it is a lot more simple and smaller. Here's the look, and I love it. I think that it's on like size 8 needles. I'm really excited. One thing I wanted to mention about Rebecca's yarn at Orchard Acre Textiles is that while I was taping this, she sent me a beautiful picture of all of these yarns that she now has up on her website at 10 a.m. I'm filming this on Sunday. You have to check out this yarn, people. It is so beautiful. And this is the one that I am holding with my, with that silky lace cashmere and alpaca. That's what I'm using for my hood. By Leah Lykke, the Simple Hood. So check out Rebecca. Here's the picture she just sent to me. These are the colors that this is available in now. And so I highly recommend check out my show notes and check out her yarn. We will meet the next 2 Wednesdays at Dandelion, and I'll show some footage from the very end of the hood along. And you can check out the hashtag on Instagram as people start to post their finished hoods, balaclavas, bonnets, whatever you want to call it. The hashtag is also in the show notes. So I am excited. I'm excited about this look. Of course, I live in a cold climate, so these are very practical garments for me. Some other honorable mentions that I could possibly cast on this winter. I've had this pattern forever by Ann Vensel. It's called the Hilly Hood. It looks like this. I love the look of this one. I love how it's a little bit roomy. It sort of frames your face a little bit more. You can pull this one down too, and it would be an amazing cowl. So if you, like for instance, I think about when we're walking the dog in the winter, I think of people being outside on a winter walk, for instance. These are great practical items, garments for you to make if you live in a cooler climate. The other one that I'm really intrigued by that my friend Rianda is making for the hood along here is the Grandma Core hood by Veronica Lindbergh. Here's a picture here. I love the cute little lace bonnety type look. And so those are 2 that are in my queue to make either for gifts or for myself. So on this podcast, I'm going to talk about also my finished object. This was my Christmas Eve cast on. I had yarn for it, which I bought at Sacred Sheep this year from Brooklyn Tweed. They were at Sacred Sheep. I've talked about this in previous podcasts, so I'm not going to go too much into the pattern. It's called the Chouquettes-slipover by Rui Yamamuro. And the construction and the detail on this pattern is genius. she did a beautiful job constructing this. It was supposed to be made with negative ease, but you don't have to. I made this size 4. I used 6 or 7 skeins of this Imbue worsted, which is a just 5-ply, 20.5 micron fine merino wool in the colorway Crepe. Here's a B-roll of me wearing this vest. You could wear it with really a short sleeve. You don't need to wear anything underneath it. If you look at the pattern, the woman who is wearing it, it could be the designer, I'm not sure, but she is wearing it without anything underneath it. I love it. You have to be ready for 5 inches of 1x1 twisted rib. But this, I love it so much. It's super cold and I just have it with a navy t-shirt today and cords. I will wear this a lot this winter. I feel like the slipover, it's like the year of the slipover for me, just because of my age, I tend to run a little bit warmer, but I also really like having, the garment to knit is also a lot quicker because you don't have sleeves. I mean, that's the beauty of it, of a slipover. So anyway, I love this Chouquette-slipover. I am going to make another one. I believe I'm going to make another one in a darker color, perhaps even black. I know you're probably thinking, but you're not going to be able to see all the detail. I do think that you will be able to see the detail with a darker yarn. So I'm going to try it. I'm going to see if I like it as much in a darker yarn, but it's a very practical garment for me. And so I probably will make another one. All right, I'm looking down, excuse me. I'm looking down at all of my notes and I want to share a couple new things that are being carried here in the store that I'm really excited about. Excuse me, I think I've mentioned to you before, I love the curation of products that Tiff and Laura carry here at Dandelion Fiber, which keeps me and other people coming back for more. Now, some little simple things that I think that I really love here in the store, and they've sort of expanded. They have these little colorful embroidery scissors. I have a pair. I love them. They're airplane safe. You can get a little case for them, this little scissor case. I find that if I don't have mine in a case, they do tend to get lost in my couch, but I have other tiny scissors, but these I keep coming back for because I like the bigger piece here for your hands. I don't know, I really love them. Wow, sorry, had to change up a little bit because I was getting blasted by the sun. All right, so some other really great products that Tiff and Laura have purchased to have here in the store are, they're expanding some of the mood products. Now, I've talked to you a little bit about these luscious leather project bags and storage containers, and because my husband got me one for Christmas, and I showed it in a previous podcast. It's more of a bigger container that actually has a top, and I keep my needles in it, and I keep my project next to the couch in it. It's really showy and beautiful. I don't carry it around too much like these, but these mood products have just the most luscious leather. I love, this is a perfect one for, this is in like this whiskey color, but how perfect is this for your interchangeable needles? A little bit of storage here for maybe some stitch markers and your scissors. This is perfect for traveling. So you don't have to bring everything, but just a few things. This is going to be an investment for me, I think, for upcoming travel. And I also love this one in black. This also could be something that I invest in. One of these two one of these two I'm going to invest in because I just feel like it's really practical for me to take on some upcoming vacations that we have planned in our family, which that will be another podcast because I need you to help me figure out what I should make on vacation. I love vacation knits. So again, I digress, but check these out on the website for Dandelion Fiber Company. Some beautiful, beautiful storage cases and bags by the company Mood. So, and then lastly, I have to share about this yarn, which I had them buy some for me last year. I have it in stash, more to come on that, but they are now, they always have carried Sandnes Garn yarn here, but they've expanded and now they're carrying this KOS, K-O-S, which is really quite lovely. It's a brushed yarn, 62% alpaca, 9% wool, 29% nylon, produced in Norway, comes in a variety of colors. I particularly am digging this color, Poppy. I also love this cognac color, but it comes in a really beautiful palette of colors, and I have kind of this oatmeal color, and I have a sweater's quantity of it, and I was gonna make another sweater from the Soft for Women book, but now I've found something else. But more on that later. If you are intrigued, you're local or you buy online, check out this KOS yarn. It is really beautiful. It has a great price point, and I think it would create a beautiful garment. And so let's move on to some other finished objects. So for my friends that we meet up with, Kristen and Mike, we meet up with them every Christmas Eve morning for coffee and pastries and exchange of gifts. And this year I was running tight on my timeline for gift knitting. So I made them each a pair of loofah mittens. I've talked about those before, so I'm not going to go into it, but the pattern is in the show notes, and I didn't get them done. So I knit them each one mitten, I wrapped it up, and then on New Year's Day delivered the second mitten. Here is the two pair of mittens that I made for them. And so I'm considering those finished objects since the last time that we met. And I also finished a Musselburgh for my husband. So I always have this little project bag in my work bag, in my backpack for school, in the car. I carry it with me everywhere. And the reason why I do that is because if I have to wait at the dentist office, if I have to wait to get my oil changed, if I have to wait literally anywhere, I pull this hat out. It's perfect for on-the-go knitting. I think about maybe bringing one, my newest one that I've cast on vacation. Not sure about that. But this is made in Magpie Fibers Swanky sock. It's got a little bit of nylon, a little bit of cashmere. It is superwash, but it is luscious. Now, you know the Musselburgh hat is knit like a big long tube, increase here, decrease here, fits inside of itself, and is a great double ply hat. So my husband wears it like a beanie. If I stick it on, I don't wear the brim. I just like it kind of with a little slouch up here. And it is just, I don't think they make this colorway anymore, but I had an extra skein left over from the Weekender Light that I created, or I knit a couple years ago. And that yarn was just sitting in my stash. I was either gonna make socks with it, but it's a perfect hat, Musselburgh hat by Ysolda Teague. Again, that pattern is all over Ravelry. I think like 60,000 people have downloaded the pattern, but nonetheless, it's a great pattern. It's a great hat. It's a super staple garment at our house, and I'm gonna make another one. So I recently, not recently, but I found Gauge Dye Works Their link will be in my show notes. And I love, this is what the hat will look like here. So Gauge Dye Works does color changing, not color changing yarn, but self-striping. And this one is the one that will create this one. And I love it. So I just started it. No, I don't do it on double pointed needles, but I start it on double pointed needles, pinhole cast on any way you want to. And so mine has begun. So I don't care if it takes me a year to knit it. I don't care if it takes me 2 years to knit it. It is my on-the-go pattern. I knit it on magic loop once it gets big enough, and I just go until the yarn is gone. And I'm super excited for this Gauge Dye Works color changing, because you will totally get a different look whether you wear it on the inside or the outside. I am gonna create a brim. I'm probably gonna create it the same exact size as this. So depending upon if my boys wear it or I wear it or my husband wears it, you can wear it any way you want to. My kids are really into the beanie look, and so is my husband. That doesn't really look good on me, so I'm just gonna have it brimless. But Gauge Dye Works, check them out. Their color changing, or their self-striping yarn is truly amongst the best, in my opinion. So that's both a cast on and a finished object. Let's talk also about my other cast on. So in my last podcast, you saw that I met up with my friends, Rianda and Joan, and we cast on blue and green. We're doing our own little private knit along of blue and green yarns because we all love blue and green together. So we're doing different patterns. Mine is from the Soft for Women Sandnes Garn. It's called the Cherry Genser Med Stripes. So there's a pattern in the book that has like a little cherry monogram right here. It's super cute. And I love this pattern going right now so much that I can see myself making another one. Here is what it looks like with cherries. And here is what it looks like just with stripes. Same pattern, different look, but I love it. You can get the pattern, I believe, on Ravelry, although don't quote me on that because it's a Sandnes Garn pattern. You might have to buy the book. The book, it's not out of print, but it's really hard to find. People have messaged me about where they could possibly get this book. I don't know. Do a deep dive, see if somebody's got it on Etsy, see if somebody's got it on who knows where. You can find it if you dig hard enough. Some yarn shop has one more. It might be somewhere in Finland, but if you're willing to pay the shipping, I have to say it's worth it. I have like 5 patterns in there that I've either knit or will be knitting. So for me, it's worth the digging. It is one of my favorite pattern books, especially from Sandnes Garn. Now, this is what mine is looking. I have split for sleeves. You'll see it has a very deep raglan, oversized sleeves, and I am here for it. I am knitting mine out of some stash yarn that I've had in my stash for 2 years. This is Todd DK from the Lamb & Kid in the colorway Blueberry and Beetle. This is a 65% yak, 35% cashmere yarn. I'm really excited to see how it wears. I'm a little worried it's so soft it could pill. I've never knit with this before. Details to come. I'll let you know. But I'm hoping that this is one of my finished objects in the next taping of my video podcast. I'm excited about using this up. I'm not just using it up to use it up. I really was intentional about finding a striped pattern between these 2 yarns. And I'm excited to be able to use it for something, a garment that I am really loving knitting. Let's talk about stashing down. Okay, so one thing I'm really working on really intentionally this year is to use up some of my stash. And again, not just to use, to use it intentionally for something that I'm gonna really like and wear. But this is where I have a little audience participation. I need your help. I love your comments. I adore reading and responding to you in this community. People are so kind. People, I just love it. So thank you very much for your kind comments. Now, I have two things that I'm going to introduce to you today. Two yarns that I'm thinking about. I might have a pattern for it, but I want to know, what would you knit with it? Because you know patterns, I know patterns. I mean, I go on Ravelry every day. Do you go on Ravelry every day? That's a question. I go on Ravelry every day to see the top 20 and to see the new spotlighted patterns, because I also want to give a little love to the people who have just begun on Ravelry. They have their debut pattern. And a lot of times when I go on Ravelry each morning, it's kind of like reading the paper. I read Ravelry. I look at it, and a lot of times you will find patterns in the top 20 or spotlighted that they're giving you a free download for the first week. Not that I don't want to pay for a pattern, but I love being able to be introduced to new pattern designers and also just to see what is a new trend. And so I do really, really love seeing what's on Ravelry. Some people don't like Ravelry. It's not available to you. You don't like it. You don't support it. That's okay too. But I just wanted to say, I have been using Ravelry a lot lately because of being so intentional about stashing down this year in 2025. So I have 4 skeins. The 2 yarns that I want to introduce to you to get your opinions on is this Jensen yarn that I picked up on sale. I can't remember where. And it is like a dark charcoal, kind of like a charcoal navy almost. These are 100 gram skeins. It also comes in 50 gram skeins. This is 100 gram skeins. So it's 250 meters a piece. I have 4 of them. I don't think I could eke out, it's DK weight. I don't think I can eke out a full sweater. For sure, I could eke out a really oversized vest, slip over, maybe with a little bit left over. I'm thinking about the cameo vest. It's been in my queue forever. Here's a picture of it here. Although I don't know if I want to do it in such a dark color because of the fact that you lose the detail of the texture in the pattern. I don't know. Let me know what you think. So that's an option. The other option would be something called the V-neck Chokki here. I love that one. Or my last idea would be, I think I could eke this out, and it's called the garden cardigan here. And I believe that's by Inkastrict. I could pair it with mohair to make it a worsted weight. Then I could probably eke out a full sweater, at least something that's cropped with 3/4 length sleeves. Let me know, have you ever knit with this Jensen yarn? It's a kind of a toothier yarn, but I think it will soften up. It gets really good reviews. People really do love it. I could, you know, Jensen or Isager and Bichet Bouche are my favorite mohairs, along with Knitting for Olive. And so I'm intrigued. What would you knit with this? I have 2 good ideas, 3 good ideas. I could also pair it with mohair and try to do another one of these Chouquettes-slipovers. I don't know. Tell me what you think. The other item that I am going to stash down is a next cast on is some of this Onling. It's a Scandinavian yarn company. I believe it's in Oslo. I believe it's a Norwegian, or it could be in Bergen. No, it's a Norwegian yarn. They discontinued this yarn recently. It's called their number 15. It's soft merino. It says that it's a sport weight. I believe that. It's a little bit bigger than fingering, but not quite big enough as DK. I have it in 3 different colors. I got it on sale when they were discontinuing this yarn. Now, one thing to know, I've knit with this before and I love it. It is treated. It's a superwash yarn. You can wash it in the machine. I've never done it. I've knit a sweater in it. It's a Andrea Mowry sweater. I can't remember the name. I'll put the picture of it here and the name of it here. It knit up beautifully. It does not feel like a superwash yarn, in my opinion. I have 8 skeins in this light gray. I have 7 skeins in this camel color brown, and I have 5 skeins in this dark charcoal. Do they have to be used together? No. Could they be? Sure. These are the 3 that I have. What would you do with them? Here's what I'm thinking. This is the one I have the most of, DRK Everyday Sweater. It's a sport weight pattern. I've never knit that pattern before. Who doesn't just need a light colored gray slipover that you would wear all the time, or a sweater? My other thought would be to do it as a stripe. My other thought would be to use it for, I think the birch pullover by Andrea Mowry is a fingering weight, so I don't think it would work for this one. My other thought would be, sorry, I'm looking down at my notes. It could be the Circus. The Circus by Kate Davies Design is this darling little 3/4 length sleeve textured cardigan. I would have just enough in this color. I'm thinking about doing that. What do you think? I don't know. If I do it, I might do a steek because I'm not really sure that I could do a full cardigan back and forth. Maybe I could. That is my intention for 2025. You notice that I didn't do everything I knit in 2024, and I didn't do a make 9, and I just don't do those videos because I change my mind too often. Is that bad? No. For me, that's just the way I knit. I am a squirrel. I see something shiny and new, and I'm there. And so, yes, I do have some intentions, but I feel like, okay, I'm getting to the point where my needles are never empty. I'm still working on my Widow's Kiss that I had to tear out. I don't know if you saw the last taping or you follow my Instagram. I got all the way from the bottom up to here. And then the first, seriously, rookie mistake when it comes to cable knitting. I don't do a lot of cable knitting, and I don't do a lot of chart reading. I mean, I do and I don't. But I'm just like, seriously, I couldn't fix it, and it would have bothered me. And it was Wing and a Prayer yarn. I bought it specifically at Rhinebeck for this Widow's Kiss, and I'm gonna finish this damn sweater if it kills me. And so I ripped the entire thing out. I soaked the yarn. I let it dry. I reballed it up, reskeined it up, and now I'm ready to go again. So it's a live and learn. People don't talk a lot about the mistakes that they make, and I'm telling you, I'm the first one to admit I have mistakes all over in projects, but when it's something that is glaring me right in the face and I know I won't wear it because it bothers me, I'm gonna rip out and start over. So I did. It was about 4 skeins worth of cabling that I ripped out and I'm redoing. Nonetheless, I digress. But the reason that I don't do a make 9, I did do a video of my fall knitting plans, and I went back and looked at it last night. There's only a few things that I finished on it. Now, does it mean that I'm not gonna finish it or do those patterns? It doesn't. Like Widow's Kiss is on there, I'm still doing it. It's not done. I thought that maybe I would have this Carla Cape jacket of Ann Vensel's done to wear at Sacred Sheep. Oh, it's not done. But we're having a Vensel along here at the store, meaning in February, we're all picking a Ann Vensel pattern and coming together similar to the hood along, but we're doing a Vensel along where we're all picking out an Ann Vensel and spotlighting her beautiful patterns. And I'm gonna do it for that. So again, I'm gonna be using stash yarn, and I'm gonna finish that. I just can't have a deadline I've realized. And I also don't want to throw out everything I knit. I don't know. You'll see the things that I knit on here because I'm focusing on it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind in 2025. I also don't keep really good notes and keep track. So I guess if I was to say I have 2 intentions for 2025, it's stashing down and also stashing down and putting things in Ravelry so I can keep track. Not extensive notes, not how I modified things and whatever. It's the yarn I used, what size I knit, and what needle size I used. So it's kind of what I have. Right now I'm teaching a class on the shift cowl. So I have one of those on the needles. I'm just finishing the Elton, which is a cardigan by Locatelli. It's been on my needles for 2 years. It will be finished today. I will be purchasing buttons for it, and you'll see it on the next podcast. That's what I have going on. So let's talk about favorite things. My favorite things this week are, number 1, a recipe that's in the show notes. So over the holidays, we had to go to a lot of different like potlucky type things, and I always want to bring something fresh that I made. I love to cook. I love to make soups in the winter. I've left you with some recipes for some soups. I made a delicious butternut squash soup yesterday that is made in the Instapot or in your crock pot, and I will link it in the show notes. Here's a picture of the soup here. So delicious. But one of my absolute favorite recipes that every time I bring it somewhere or we serve it when people come over, they ask me for the recipe. And it sounds weird. It's mango pomegranate salsa. Here's a picture of it here. You can serve it with just chips as an appetizer or a snack. You can put it on a salad with like cubed up chicken if you eat chicken. You can put it on a chicken breast over the top, and it is so fresh and delicious. So it is literally cubed up avocado, cubed up mango. I use fresh from frozen from Trader Joe's, pomegranate seeds, and jalapeno or not if you don't like that, cilantro or not if you don't like that. I mean, you can modify it. Lime juice, honey, salt. You guys, it is so good and fresh and delicious. I highly recommend you try this recipe. That's favorite thing number 1. Favorite thing number 2, I love fresh flowers. Winter, summer, spring, I don't care when it is. I love having fresh flowers in my home. It's kind of indulgent, except for the fact that, again, I'm shouting out Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's has an amazing selection of seasonal flowers. My husband goes every weekend to do the Trader Joe's run because we buy a lot of things from there for the week. He always picks up flowers and puts them in a vase, and then we have a little vase of flowers that lasts kind of like 2 weeks in the kitchen, in our bedroom, and in the living room. I love it. It is such I don't know, it's just like you can't call it a guilty pleasure. It's just one of those things I just really love that just kind of brightens up our home. It just makes me feel good, especially in the winter. So here's a picture of like some flowers that we get. Put them in little vases. They last 2 weeks. We spend under $10 to get these flowers. It's amazing. So he goes really early in the morning for best selection, basically of everything, but also because he runs all of the errands in the morning. We call it the victory lap at our house. He gasses up the cars. He goes to Costco, he goes to Trader Joe's, and he goes to the car wash. Yep, he goes on this victory lap. But part of the reason I'm mentioning it as a favorite thing is because it's just something simple that makes me feel good. And I almost find it a little bit of self-care. So, other favorite thing. My last favorite thing, I mentioned earlier that I'm a teacher during the school year, and we had a 2-week winter break. And although being a teacher can be an incredibly difficult job, it can be really rewarding. And one of the things that is my favorite thing that warms my heart is when we come back after a 2-week winter break, or let's say spring break or something. And I haven't seen my students for like this was just a 2-week break. That's a long break, especially, we don't usually have that. It was just the way that the holiday fell and the calendar year this year. But I have little students. They're like 4 and 5. Beautiful little people. And it's okay. So one of my kids got off the bus. He's a student with special needs. He's nonverbal. And he was so happy to be at school, came off with this little snowsuit, comes down from the bus, and he looked at me and just started belly laughing, like pee your pants laughing. And that tells me that this little tiny human is so happy to be back at school. He can't tell me with words, but just learning who he is as an individual, as a student in my class, I know that belly laugh means I am so happy to be back at school. So that is one of my favorite things. And then another little boy gets off the bus who is verbal and a typically developing child. He put his hands on my face and said, "Miss Kristen, let me just look at your face." I seriously almost wept. I was like, oh. So we put our hands on each other's faces and just looked at each other for like a nanosecond. But it was such a beautiful moment that makes me think that teachers do really make a difference in the lives of young children, or just in children in general. And so that is another one of my favorite things. It doesn't cost a thing. I like to share things on here that are favorite things that sometimes cost money and sometimes don't. And these really were minimal things that cost money, but just the things that I find pleasure in and that really warm my heart. So with that, if you have liked this video, please consider subscribing, giving it a thumbs up, and don't forget to tell me, what would you knit with these amazing yarns that I have in my stash? Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to film another podcast next time. Bye.